Hello, it is me, Brooklyn. I am here with Martina. Martina is a client or an old client of mine. She has been through some pretty awesome things in the last year. She was diagnosed with PCOS, specifically in the last year, and we're going to kind of talk about her journey and what she's been through. But before we get to that, Martina, I just wanted to ask you a few questions. So, where were you before before we met?
Yeah, I was in grad school trying to, I'm a mental health therapist, so I was in grad school trying to balance grad school and internship life. So, and then like probably eating maybe a meal a day and then trying to work out. And I still I was so tired. I had a headache every single day. I was mentally, emotionally exhausted. I felt crappy. I mean, people would say I look good on the outside, and I did look good on the outside, but I just felt crappy on the inside every day.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess tell me a little bit more about, you said you felt, crappy on the outside, or sorry, crappy on the inside. Obviously, like you were accomplishing something, but like what did your diet, you said you were eating one meal a day. What did your diet look like? And obviously you're a busy grad student, like you were going crazy, busy all the time. So tell me a
Yeah,
little bit more about that.
I think when we first started working together and you told me to track my nutrition for 3 days, I think you saw that I had like cherries and peanuts, and you're like, what? So basically like peanuts, like a jar of peanuts. And even though I was wasn't eating much, I was still like retaining fat like crazy, which right, people will say, well, the less you eat, the less you weigh. It's not true at all. And so that's what my diet looked like. And maybe once in a while, like I'll go to like Cafe Rio like and get a meal, but it wasn't. That's what basically did, because I just didn't have time to cook, and a lot of I was more cautious about, because I didn't want to gain weight, right? I spent so that year, like that year prior, I lost 60 pounds, right? And so, and I had to be on medicine for that because I didn't know what was wrong with my body. So I lost 60 pounds. So I was like, there's no way, like, I'm going to like gain this weight back. So I'm like, okay, like I'll just start like restricting like crazy. And so, and I was doing that for like about the entire, like the last year of grad school. And so, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you went through quite a journey. Obviously you lost initially a lot of weight on your own, right? Taking medications, things like that. That's before you even knew you had PCOS, though.
Yeah.
It's just like, what's going on with my body, right? And then you lost all that weight, but then you thought, well, the only way I can maintain this is eating like nothing, basically.
Yeah.
Starving all day.
Yeah, definitely. And my doctors were confused, and I was like, listen, I'm basically keto. And I went to, and they're like, yeah, I don't know why you're still creeping up 5 pounds back. And they're like, okay, we'll just put you back on the same medication. And so we put me back on the same medication 3 times. And I'm like, and I hated it because it was a stimulant. And I don't like caffeine. I just don't like the feeling of getting addicted to something. And it was just terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we started, I guess like what was like some of the things that we implemented to get you back, into a more of like a healthy lifestyle versus just starvation mode? What did we implement?
Yeah. I think one of the first things you told me, keto wasn't sustainable, and I was so mad. And I was like, this is crap. Like, of course keto is sustainable. Now I'm like, it's not.
Yeah.
Very sustainable. Well, we upped my calories, which I was like hesitant, because I'm like, I like, usually you hear like the lower calorie you eat, the less you weigh. So we upped my calorie, and then we started like putting like good food in my body, right? Not just concentrated on the less calories, but like the quality of food, which I thought was really big, like really helped. And so I I think I ate fruit for the first time with you in years. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I can eat fruit.
Yes. That's good. That's good. Okay. So obviously we went and we upped your calories. We implemented basically just a new way of life for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then through this process, we came to find that, we were kind of having some struggles. So when you were diagnosed with PCOS, I guess like what kind of brought us to that point of you being diagnosed with PCOS?
Well, I think it was like when we first started the program, I meal planned with you, I meal prep, daily stuff, and the scale just wasn't moving. And it was just like have a huge range. Right. And then, just not like I felt better like with the nutrition, but I just wasn't, I don't know. I thought, it was normal to always have headaches. It was normal to feel like grumpy and tired, despite how well I ate. I mean, I would have good days and bad days, but overall, I felt better, but I just didn't feel good because my hormones were just not balanced, right? And so, you encouraging me to, like telling me, like maybe there's something wrong. It's not in my head. I think we went through the path of getting like a lot of tests done and getting a lot of like going through crappy doctors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember I had this one doctor who didn't believe me. He told me that I was counting calories wrong. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. You're like, no, I don't think so. Yeah.
And so we just couldn't figure out why, I was seeing some result, but I wasn't seeing optimal, like I wasn't seeing the results based on the efforts I was putting in. And so we were confused. And so just you recommending going to Dr. Andrews, East Bay Fertility, definitely changed it. I was finally, like what, you're the one who told me, I think it sounds like PCOS, like months before I went to Dr. Andrews, and then trying to go through different doctors and Dr. Andrews confirming like, no, you definitely have PCOS. I'm like, it was interesting and good, but I felt comforted with that diagnosis because I felt like, good, I'm not lazy. It's not in my head. I'm not crazy. Like there's something wrong. And so in a weird way, that diagnosis was comforting to me because it got us back like, okay, like now that we know, I know that I have PCOS, we can approach it in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a huge turning point for you too of, okay, this isn't just in my head. There's actually something going on. And now where do we pivot from here, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess like at the end of all this, once we did find out you had PCOS and we were able to push forward, because you just got married a few weeks ago. I guess like, so what were the results since we were able to make that major pivot?
So the results is, so like, I saw the scale go down, but most of all, I just like, I think we were looking at my results like a couple, and just like the belly fat went down. Like I went from, I think, a 31 waistline to a 25.
Oh yeah.
Woo-woo.
That's awesome.
A 42 hip to a 38 hip, which was like,
oh yeah.
So, yeah. So the results that, like it was really good. Like I feel like I have more energy, like I'm confident. And the biggest result is that I know what to do when I'm off track, right? And I don't diet anymore because diets don't work.
Yes.
Right? And so like, getting married, like, and having to plan a wedding during this pandemic, I put on 5 pounds, but yesterday I realized it was like, instead of saying, oh, I need to start dieting, I was like, oh, I'll go get back on track, right? Because I just, just making sure I eat, like, be more strict with my nutrition and get the exercise I need, and realizing that, it's not like I'm not restricting myself. It's kind of really, I'm freeing myself. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest result for me as a person who, had a history of an eating disorder and being restricted my diet. I don't restrict my diet anymore, right? And so like yesterday when I was discouraged by my weight, I still ate appropriately and like that I was supposed to, and I didn't feel guilty about that because I knew that was the right thing for my body, right? And so like, it was like, I think the biggest takeaway for me was just the improvement it had in my mental health and my confidence with myself.
That's awesome. Thank you, Martina. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I've got one more question for you. So, if you were talking to someone who was kind of like sitting on the fence, like, oh, you know, hey, I heard you work with Brooklyn or whatever, I guess like what would you tell them?
I think there's just so many things. First, I think I would tell them like it's scary, right? It's scary. It's because you feel like, well, you know, what if I don't achieve the results that I get? What if like, you know, it's too hard? But I think I would tell them it's worth it. I felt like, I remember, I think the first time I heard about Brooklyn, I decided to go to the Nutri Shop to get my body mass on. And I was really, this was when I was in the 500 calories. I'm like, great, it should be like 0% because I eat nothing. Right? And I was so surprised. It's like, are you kidding me? Right? And then, so I came back and someone, I think I met Jordan first and then I met someone else first. They told me about Brooklyn and I'm like, and it took me a couple of days to call. I'm like, okay, you know, like I feel crappy. I don't know what to do. It won't hurt, right? And so I think one of the biggest things I would tell them is to take a leap of faith, right? Because you know, like it's so worth it. I was not happy, like, and like I wasn't happy with myself, but emotionally I felt like crap, right? And so being able to see like, and I'm a therapist, being able, and I should have known this, right? How big nutrition plays into your mental health is big, like it plays into your overall well-being. So I would say that, you know, working with Brooklyn not only changed, you know, my physical health, but it's changed my mental and emotional health, which is saying a lot since I help people with mental and emotional health a lot, right? And so I think that was one of the like biggest medicines for my mental and emotional health, to be honest. So I think, you know, I would say like, take a chance because it really improved like all aspects of my life. And I'm not that grumpy anymore. And my husband really appreciates that.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Martina. I really appreciate it. Love working with you. And we will definitely stay in touch, all right?
Okay. Bye.